Satish. What kind of thoughts on your evolution and the twists and turns of your career?
Sure. First of all, thanks for having me on the panel. It's a nice opportunity to give back to students. I wish I had all the exposure that you're getting these days. Certainly helping in the process. Glad to be here. I'm actually a first-generation immigrant from India. This is my 7th country that I've lived in. I was fortunate to work for a father who worked for Siemens, moved around various parts of the world. So by the time I come to the U.S., when I was 21, it was already been around the world a few times. And that's kind of paid off quite a bit. It's also part of the reason why I look at business the way I do today. Went to school here for my master's in computer systems engineering. In fact, 2 of the faculty who had pretty significant impact are sitting in the audience right there. Were there back then, they're still here, and have evolved the program significantly. So it's given me that trampoline that I needed to get out into the business world. But as a undergrad in mechanical engineering from India and a computer systems engineering from here, the next option for me coming out of college here was the combination of the two. And you can take your guess, computers and mechanical engineering. So I'd gone into mechanical CAD or mechanical CAD design. Not on the user side, but actually writing software that would be used by mechanical CAD users. So I work for computers in companies in the area called Computer Vision, which is now bought and owned by Parametric Technologies Corporation. So the CAD industry has evolved. Yes, I did write fairly complex surface software that was used by Penske Cars, GE Aerospace, and so on. So it kept me going for about the first 2 or 3 years, and then I started to look around and say, well, how long am I going to sit in the field and write software? Not that I didn't enjoy it, but it's just that I felt I could do a lot more. And that then got me to take some opportunities. I want to come back to a couple of topics that forced me to make that transition. I was really looking at what else could I be doing, because if life were much longer than it is, I would spend 20 years writing software and then another 20 reaping the benefits of that, and then maybe go into business. But in a career which is 20, 30 years long, you have time short, and you pay for your benefits, or you reap the benefits, or you pay for the mistakes you make very quickly. So if I hadn't set up a transition from my traditional software engineering days to going into business, I wouldn't be where I am right now. So those transitions took me to a company, a startup, security software company that grew very fast, got bought out in the year 2 of incorporation. It was a venture-funded startup in the Boston area. Then I went on to work for a database company founded by a bunch of ex-Oracle folks based here in Boston. Was employee number 20 of that firm. The firm became a $600 million, actually 600 employee, $60 million firm. In the span of 4 years, went through an IPO in the market. This was in the 96, 97 timeframe. And then in the year 2000, got sold to Progress Software, which is a large $500 million software firm around here. Then, of course, I think Ken talked a little bit about the company where I'm at right now, and that's LionBridge Technologies. We're about a $500 million player, grown from about 150 million to 500 million in the span of 4.5 years. So we've had a pretty nice growth. The 3 things that brought me to actually make that shift, although I'm still a geek, I still like my gadgets, I think like an engineer, but that's to my advantage, I think. The things that brought that transformation around was I absolutely loved getting out of the 4 walls. I was just not comfortable just sitting in a job that actually ended up keeping me occupied 24/7 in my 4 walls. I enjoyed interacting with customers. I enjoyed interacting with folks that were at a different level. That's one. The second thing is, so those are all the soft skills that you sort of enjoy. And at the end of the day, it's about having fun, not just the job description. So that's one. The second thing is, and you'll see this actually, you'll probably face this more than I did, is that the rate of change of various elements today, being technology, et cetera, is much faster, right? It's the rate of change of technology with phones or computers or software, what have you, the rate of change is much faster. And I just felt that there was technology that could change the way that companies do business, right? And being an engineer, I just felt that there was a larger part I could play as a business person, bringing that technology skill to bear. And the last thing is, I guess, Phil touched on it, is being an engineer, I tend to think fairly structurally, process-oriented. And when you go into a large company, it doesn't work because the CEO said so. There's a lot of process that needs to happen, a lot of planning that needs to happen. I find that generally as engineers, we tend to do a pretty good job of putting that process in place. So a lot of things that circle back to, but those are the two or three things that maybe shift from being just a pure engineer to a business-minded person.
The fact that you're here, you probably have a leg up on most of your peers, so you should be aware of that. The fact that you're taking interest enough to actually, you can learn a lot in school, but you start learning about business when you get into business. And the fact that you're here listening to us shows you should be proud of yourself that you're taking an active interest in maybe furthering yourself down the road. So nice job just for being here. I couldn't read till I was in 5th grade. I am dyslexic and I have ADD. So it was, as you can imagine, it was a tough road. I couldn't read very well. That's why I went into engineering, and I could do the math pretty well. We all go for engineering for different reasons, but I could do calculus. I could spell. Back in those days, the Dragon voice dictation systems and those things weren't around. So if you couldn't spell, you were kind of trouble. Went to Northeastern. One of the greatest things I found about Northeastern was the co-op program. I was working for Stone Webster Engineering. They have been bought by Shaw Group right now, so probably not even know that name, but they were a very large premier engineering company. During co-op, I think I did every engineering job there was: electrical, mechanical, industrial, even environmental. When I graduated, I realized I didn't want to build power plants. And I went into IT. So the co-op showed me, I thought the education of an engineering degree was a good, strong benefit, but just sitting down, like you said, and for me, sitting still has always been a little difficult, probably more than for you guys. So I finished, worked for Stone Webster a couple of years, then went into really solid IT at State Street. Was there a few years, around 5 years, ended up building all their data centers and all their trading floors around the world. I really like the IT stuff, like the technology. I'm a huge geek when it comes to that way. And what I learned there, and the overall thing we're trying to purvey, is do what you like doing. I found every time I tried to force myself to do something I didn't like, I didn't do a great job of it. That doesn't mean not work hard. Because my first 2 years at State Street, I probably worked around 80 hours a week, and I slept in my boss's office almost every night because we had so many problems with the trading floor. This is back in the late 90s, where, if you can remember, the U.S. was making quite a bit of money with some stocks. So the traders didn't like the systems being down. So I went from there, built the entire system. After everything was stable and fixed, I got bored. I got bored easy. So I went to State Street. I went to Citizens Bank, built their online banking system, built they were all mainframes, all these mainframe guys, and let's just do it this way. They hated the open systems guys because we were like empowering the user. Went there, built their data centers, built all their IT infrastructure, open systems architecture, online banking. Things got stable, so I got bored. Then I went down to Arthur Anderson. Plus I wanted to move to someplace warmer, so it was Florida. There I ran all the server capacity for the entire Arthur Anderson. I don't think you guys remember Arthur Anderson. They were quite a large company at one time. So we ran over 1,000 servers out of that data center. Put in a lot of best practices, put some stabilize the system, and got bored. Got a call from a good friend of mine who I worked at State Street. We ran the engineering team at a small, tiny little company called Peak Traffic down in Sarasota, Florida. Why don't you come over here? We could use some entrepreneurial spirit. And, so I left Arthur Anderson. My friends, family, everyone knew me, thought I was out of my mind to leave this huge, prestigious engineering company, consulting company, to go to this tiny little company. 3 months later, the entire company folded. Everyone said, "You know something, Todd?" I didn't know anything, but it's good timing. I went to Peak Traffic, and now I'm at Nestor Traffic, and you're going from a huge company to a tiny little company, and it's a different mindset, and I found entrepreneurial, and there I really became a business person because I ran an entire business. Before that, it was always, one thing I think engineers tend to do, and technology people tend to do, is we'll do something because it's cool. And the users in the community, they're annoying. They're always bothering. I don't want to do something that's cool. And at that time, I learned about business and learned it's all about the bottom line. And actually, accountants actually have a place in this world, which is tracking the numbers. And that was the big step for me. And ever since then, now I was a chief operating officer for Nestor Traffic. We tripled the revenues. Our technology started to become a little antiquated in some areas. So now I'm the chief technology officer, focused on the technology side of things.